Alright, let's do a first example here. You got an equation. It wants you to identify vertices, foci, and asymptotes of the hyperbola. Now, how do we know it's a hyperbola? Well, hyperbolas you also make equal to 1. It's similar to ellipse. People confuse these back and forth all the time, so make sure you know what you're doing. So divide by 100 again. 100 becomes y squared over 2500 over 4 minus 4/100 1 over 25, so x squared over 25 equals 1. How do you know it's an ellipse or a hyperbola? Well, it's because it's minus y squared minus x squared. So now what type of hyperbola? Is it going up or the other way? Is it going this way? Is the transverse vertical or is the transverse horizontal? Y squared minus x squared means the transverse is vertical. Okay, so now we figure out A and B. A squared is always over here on the left hand side of the minus, so it's y squared or x squared over A squared is always first, B squared is always second. Okay, so this is A squared, which means A squared is 4, which means A equals 2. This guy right here is B squared, not B, but B squared. B squared equals 25, which means square root, B equals 5. Okay, so we'll be using our A and our B to find vertices, foci, and asymptotes. Okay, let's see. What's next? We could find C right now. So let's do that. I mean, we can do a lot of things. Let's find C. C squared equals A squared plus B squared for hyperbolas. Star that, mark it down. Once again, the other one is a minus, this one is a plus. So let's go find C real quick. C squared equals A squared is 4 plus B squared is 25. So C squared equals 29, which makes C equal to root 29. There you go, which helps us find our foci.